several things that the book pointed out this morning. They talked about a mastermind group. Isn't it crazy that we are already a step ahead of this book right here and we're already in mastermind? They talk about auto suggestions. Isn't it crazy that every single morning we do auto suggestions already here? And they talked about emotional state of mind, which is very, very important for every single one of us. I want you guys to know that the mastermind topic that we're about today is going to wrap around emotional questions and things that we have happen with the customer. So first thing, let's address the emotional state of mind. You guys are conscious that you guys are having a mastermind group every single morning. You guys are already in the step in the right direction, mastermind group. Most people start mastermind groups and stop them. They start, they stop. They start book clubs and they stop the book clubs. Yeah, remember the book club? Anyway, so the point is that you guys are already a step ahead of mastermind group. Auto suggestions, you guys are already doing them. So this is what I want you guys to go, and I want you guys to graduate to the next step of auto suggestions is I want you guys to write down breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Very important for you guys to do this. Trust me, this strategy has been working for me. And every time I write something down, I always get things done just because it's a plan of action and a blueprint. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner, your goals. Start with your small goals. Yesterday we talked about health. Start with writing how many miles you want to run every single day, how much you want to exercise, what do you want to eat, how much you want to weight. Those are very important. Then write down your financial goals. You want to have $10,000 in that bank account. You want those $10,000 to be free and clear in reserves. You don't have to spend that money. Write that stuff down. And then your mental health and your spiritual health. Write down that you are going to meditate for about 10, 15 minutes every single day. Those are the things that are very important. So back to the emotional state of mind. Yesterday, I had a phone call from Abraham, and Abraham told me that his buyer refused to close a deal if we didn't provide the proper information in regards to the building and the safety of the structure that's in the property. Does that make sense to you guys? You guys follow along. And for the people that don't know that yet, you'll get to learn it quickly once you're at it. Then Jesse calls me and he says, hey, I'm having an issue with square footage on a property. So these are the very similar things that we're dealing with every single day. And the reason I'm very confident in us and our brokerage is because we have the strategy and the mastermind group so that we could talk about it, because I'm going to give you guys the solution to the problem. I want to start for myself. The one thing I would have corrected versus what I did differently is that I would correct the emotional state of mind of thinking that the deal is going to collapse because of a small problem like that one. That's the emotional. And this is going to happen to you guys very often, where you guys are going to feel like a deal is going to fall apart, and imagine in the moment, you're going to jump into an emotional state of mind of panic. So I want you guys down to write, I will not panic. This is something that we need to work on. I struggle with it myself. Matter of fact, Catherine, this goes for you. Yesterday, I showed up to the golf course, and for some reason, there was a miscommunication between myself and the club manager, and I'm showing up to the club ready to play. Club manager comes out, and he's like, what are you doing here? You haven't paid. Because you know everybody with COVID-19 purposely fell behind on their payments a couple of months now. Anyone that did that to certain things? Yeah. Okay, anyway, so the point is that I show up super confident. I was very, very confident that Catherine and Nikita, they had already processed all the payments so that I could show up, but he threw a curveball at me. At that point in time, I did not know how to react, so I reacted as an alpha. And when I go back and think about it, I'm like, there's something in my mental health that's making me react like this, and then I'm going to regret it. Because automatically, when he took that approach, I said, excuse me, Dan, before you get your panties in a bunch, and that just lit a fire. You know what I'm saying? But that was just the emotional me.
You would, huh?
I said that.
I thought it was Tracy.
I know it's a Tracy thing.
Tracy would not tell you anything. That's the problem.
I hope none of them are on the call, because then they're going to be like, oh, really? But anyway, I said that, and then when I go back, I'm like, man, my emotional state of mind is so important to make these conscious decisions when I'm working in a real estate transaction, and this is what's going to make you guys very competitive. So number one step, in order for us to avoid this problem with permits, problem with square footage, problem with things that are unknown to us, is If you guys are taking a listing, or for us, if we're working as a group and you're representing a buyer in one of our listings, we should hold ourselves to a higher standard and require a TDS and an SPQ up front. So I need you guys to write that down. TDS and SPQ. You don't understand it right now, but I want you guys to be finely tuned machines the minute that you guys get a hold of these transactions. Because the clients need to know that there's a process. So can anybody tell me what a TDS and an SPQ does?
Another question,
Right. Catherine said transfer disclosure statement. So write that down under TDS. Transfer disclosure statement. This transfer disclosure statement is a protection to both buyer and seller so that they have a clear understanding of what the property has gone through. It's kind of like a little, like, you know, when you go to the doctor and the nurse does that whole check-in, that's what this transfer disclosure statement does for you. Then there's the SPQ, write down seller property questionnaire. It's so important because Jesse, I believe that we could have avoided the problem that we had and you could have avoided the problem that you had if you would have taken a different approach from the beginning. Does that make any sense? Not that you did anything wrong, but I mean, if we don't know, what are we going to do? And there's the same thing for our deal because right now the customer is questioning, well, is this really legitimate? So TDS and SPQ are going to help you ask the customer the questions that are very important, like, have you made any modifications to the property and are they permitted? Why or why not? Wouldn't that trigger you if you fill that out to be like, man, maybe I should go on, and this is the second thing that I want you guys to write down, LADBS. Super important. This is the plan of action that you must take every time you run into one of these issues.
or did them offer dime?
Excuse me?
Zuma.
Yeah, we'll get there. Thank you very much. I need a master. LADBS is the Los Angeles Department of Building and Safety. Write that down, Los Angeles Department of Building and Safety. What does the LADBS do for you? Can anybody, and look, it's not just for LA County. LA County, I'm sorry, if you go to other counties, you have to be aware that it's not going to be LADBS. Does that make sense?
It just pretty much like permits and regulations, coding.
Right. So the Los Angeles Department of Building and Safety will give you the opportunity to log into their website and find out what's been permitted and what's not. The reason I want you guys to do this is because I don't want you to be the one that does it for the customer, because in essence, you guys are not in the floor plan permit industry, but I want you guys to be well-rounded because yesterday my emotional state of mind got me to think, oh man, we have an issue, when all I had to think about was having a solution. Does that make any sense? So that roadblock was like, oh man, and automatically your brain starts to go so negative that you're like, oh, we're gonna cancel, it's been an escrow for blah, blah, blah. We're about to get paid, now nobody gets paid. Does that make any sense to you guys? So that's why emotional is important. And the last thing I want you guys to write down is Zimas. Zimas is a website, and for some reason I can never find Zimas when I go like Zimas.com. I always have to go like through Google and then LinkedIn. I don't know why. Z-I-M-A-S.
Like drinks?
I don't know about drinks, but
Yeah, we don't drink that much here.
yeah.
Thanks, Jess.
Yeah, we really don't drink that much here.
Yeah, we don't.
Zimas. Okay, so this is why it's important. All of this information, we should be providing it as an initial package of disclosure to our customers. I do not want us to be the sales professionals that are always trying to figure out something out all the time. It's just so repetitive. You're always running into deals. This is the main reason why, and this is why, and ask me questions about TDS, SPQ, LADBS, and Zimas.
Can we throw in
What is the
up front?
Zimas is, okay, so this is even what I do. This is how fanatical I should be, and this is what I want you guys to embrace. A lot of your listing agents are not doing this full research, but look how short of a time did we solve that problem. My emotional state of mind then called me, and I told the seller, I'm like, hey, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but you need to take care of this because this is like an important part of it, or he'll do it. Because it's very, very important. Like, you did the whole work, but you didn't complete it. And the reality is that they're buying it based on that value. So we got to do what's right. At that moment, I transferred all my emotion and fear into the seller. The seller is now like, wow, if I don't close this escrow, then I'm not gonna get my net proceeds. But then it goes again to the fear of the pipeline, because what did we learn this week? Your pipeline is
It's
what?
your lifeline.
It's your lifeline. So if you have that one deal and your pipeline's super weak, you're gonna shake in your boots. I was already even thinking, like, we'll give the buyer a G and like tell them to be quiet, you know what I'm saying? But that's not the point. The point is that we're professionals, and imagine you start giving everybody a little bit of commission because you don't feel you have the worth. And how long did it take for you guys to research on LADBS? And you could even get on the phone with them. All you have to do is write this down too, 311. 311 will give you a lot of that information.
It took Adam probably like less than 5 minutes just to look it up.
Yeah, it takes very little. So that's
Edward.
That's why I said today, Jesse has the exact same issue on a transaction, and the square footage is off by a couple hundred square feet, Jess?
Like 160 square feet.
160 square feet. And you have a very, very arrogant buyer's agent thinking that we're in a volatile market where it's declining, when you guys know out there that we're hustling every single day, and I don't see a decline. I'm still submitting offers at asking price. Does that make any sense to you guys? So Jesse, with the tools and information that he just got today, I guarantee you he's going to be able to go back and tell that person, hey, if your client is having an issue, all they have to do is wait for the county recorder's office. They can do a reassessment of the property square footage, and that will solve that problem. Because it's not smart on the buyer's end to want more square footage based on taxation, because you guys understand that the more square feet, the higher the tax roll is, right?
I just found that out yesterday.
Okay, so I just want you guys to know that. So for example, if I was a buyer and I was buying a 2,000 square foot house during the initial purchase and it registered for 1,860, then it's in my benefit. Now, if I want to resell it, then I'm going to do my homework and I'll get it redone. Does that make sense? So that was the seller's
More
responsibility.
square feet, but more
Taxation.
Yeah. So does that make sense to you guys? Like, those are all things that we need to be aware.
Sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
No. How am I supposed to handle this situation now? So with the, I done LADBS, I haven't done ZMAs, but ZMAs looks like it's pretty much just the basic information. How am I going to use that tool when I'm talking to the buyer's agent?
When you're talking to the buyer's agent, I would tell them that they could do some type of dispute on their square footage of their property, and then they could take care of that on their own in the near future. Does that make any sense?
No,
because
but
did it appraise?
Well, they're waiting on their certificate of occupancy for the appraisal. But the thing is, when we put in the square footage on the MLS, we put in what the first rough draft of the plot plans. But then we saw what actually been submitted, and we were off by 160 square feet.
Yeah, but that was a technicality, right?
Yeah,
She's trying to hold you on a technicality.
Yeah.
That's just be very upfront.
Yeah.
And I was asking about contingency periods because these type of things will drag on. If she's not sending an extension, you need to send a notice to perform so that they can remove that contingency, because it appears that you're already almost 17 days.
Yeah.
17 days today, right?
No, 21 days yesterday.
Oh, and that's for loan contingency and
Yeah, for loan
appraisal
contingency,
contingency. Yeah, you should.
But then the seller that I have is also being very hard-headed too, where it's like he doesn't want to sign the RRR because of this.
Right, and look, and this is what happens a lot with buyers and sellers. Sometimes you gotta grab the bull by the horns. And sometimes you gotta have the ability to tell them, hey, Ron, listen to me. It is very important that it is a very, very sticky situation that we're in this market. I would take whatever you can get and run with it, and let's move on to the next one. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So I think that's the approach you should take. And I bet you once you open up that avenue of suggestion, sometimes they want to be told they're wrong. I would say 99.9% of the time when I've had an issue like that where the seller is clashing heads with the buyer, I've typically created that situation for the transaction when I could have made it very simple, like, hey, this is what they want. What do you think? If they're like, no, we're not going to do it, I think maybe you should consider it. Consider it and then just sleep on it and then let me know. It's very important because sometimes we create that environment by auto-suggesting to our mind that the deal's not going to go through. Hence what I was doing already yesterday, tripping out. And I even had this lady doesn't even e-sign. But I was all like, hey, you have to sign this today. And I sent it to her, and somehow she got the e-signature done. The point is that when the customer wants to do something, the customer is gonna do something. But those are very important. TDS and SPQ. It would not be smart of you guys to have learned TDS and SPQ today and not pull up a copy of it so you could read it. That's the type of hunger that you need to have if you're going to be extremely successful. Is what was he talking about, the TDS and the SPQ? And if you read it, you're going to be like, wow. You know what I mean? It's going to open up your mentality to understanding that what you guys are getting paid to do has a lot of responsibility.
Absolutely.
What you guys are being asked to do has already, this is not something new under the sun. You guys don't have to reinvent the wheel. The process and the format is already there. We just have to be very, very alert and really think about how the top producers do it. And as far as I'm concerned, that's how we do it. We make sure that we're always doing our research and provide it to the customer, because you know what? I'm tired of not being able to sleep at night over the concern of a deal not closing. So if I set up my groundwork originally, and that's why I wrote down today the blueprint. What is the blueprint to your game, to your hustle, to what you're doing with the customer? If you're going around just thinking that you're gonna do it transactionally, be prepared to handle 5 transactions a year. And if you're okay surviving with 5 transactions a year, that's good. And I always ask myself, man, if people in the industry really, really top produced at a level where they would see all of these things, I don't think they would be able to handle it. But our industry, or the norm is, we're all sold on 5 homes a year. And for you guys know you guys have a minimum production standard of 12 transactions a year. And that's a very, very easy goal to obtain as long as you do what you're supposed to. This is just transaction talk. This is information that's golden, because this is what other people are not teaching. Because they kind of want you to figure it out, and then it's just such a mess. That's why I think the industry standard is so low, because nobody's really professional about it. But anyway, let's go back into our prospecting block. We've been able to break some bad habits in the last few weeks, and I've been seeing it team-wise. First, our break was kind of catch up with each other, blah, blah, blah. Now we're getting straight into the phones, see a lot of more pre-quals coming in. You guys should maintain your focus and vision on lead follow-up. You need to follow up on those leads religiously. How many touches does it take before they convert?
10.
So you guys need to make sure that you guys are calling these people 10 times. If not, there's another guy sitting at another desk that does better follow-up than you guys. And when you guys got to beat them to the punch. I'm not going to let anybody take food away from my family just because I suck at following up. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
I need to make sure that I'm there every step of the way. I need to be annoying religiously. I'm finding people on LinkedIn sometimes at night when I feel like they're ghosting me. I'm like, I wonder if he has a LinkedIn or Twitter or what do they have? I want to know what they're doing in their life.
WhatsApp.
Or Tinder. What's up? Yeah, they got a WhatsApp. So the point is this, you guys need to make sure that you guys know the basics this morning. Mastermind group, check already. We already got that. Auto suggestions, we're gonna do them right now. The last thing would be to write down your goals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then use the strategy. If you guys have significant others, I know, Jesse, you have a very precise goal this year, and your vision is laser focused that you're gonna get that house. That goal should be next to your bed every single breakfast, lunch, and dinner so that it becomes a reality. And you're always pushing it. You're always pushing it. You're always pushing it. Brand new house, spanking new house. Those things that everybody wants, you got to make sure that you're putting them for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dennis, I know you've been wanting to buy a house too, so you're going to buy a house soon. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Let's do our affirmations, Abraham.